people reject the charge of Satan worship is because, as we saw earlier, they have a caricature of the devil and his religion in their minds.
He's the horn-headed demon in red pajamas, and serving him, should he even exist, would involve sacrificing babies, drinking blood, or something else equally horrible or bizarre. In reality, though, following Satan is far more mundane and universal than most people realize or would care to admit.
But I can do anything that I want to. I can pursue any kind of lustful desires that I might feel. I can engage in any activities that are so-called sinful activities and not really worry about any ecumenical councils making it right for me to do these things.
Living for, as I've said, all of the earthly and carnal pleasures.
A satanic world is a world reborn in purity, a world where the instinct and the intellect will be complementary to one another rather than being at odds with one another. It will be a world in which we follow laws of nature instead of just the rules that man's made up to regulate his conduct.
All right, we got one rule. There are no rules. Have a good time. Do what we want.
Now, if the Christian said to you, you're just really worshiping yourself, what would you say?
In a sense, they would be right. It is a form of self-worship.
We feel that there's no reason why these people shouldn't just flip the coin completely over and simply call themselves what religion has called them for many, many years. Call them devil worshippers, or disciples of evil, or Satanists. Of course, it's very hard for a person to hang an uncomplimentary label on themselves. And for this reason, for many years, there will be people practicing Satanism as good Christians or other religions, and they will instinctively pursue the very same things that we are, as they always have.
As we've already seen, Satan is an invisible spirit and a master of disguise. His ability to pass himself off as an angel of light can fool the rebellious and the spiritually naive into thinking that black is white, truth a lie, and even that God himself is the one telling them these things. And as for following the devil, many that espouse an openly satanic worldview can tell you that it's nothing like the Hollywood caricature. And that's precisely what makes it so disturbing, as the occult magazine Gnosis acknowledged. If there's anything horrifying in its teachings, it's that these are the principles by which most people live most of the time, usually without admitting it even to themselves. And just what is this core principle by which most people live? Well, in a nutshell, do what you want.
Really, man, is living life to your fullest potential. I mean, like, whatever you want to do, when you want to do it, you do it, but in the grandest way possible, you know?
potential to Satanism attain his own godhood in accordance with his own potential. Therefore, each man, each woman is a god or goddess in Satanism.
What would you define being a Satanist as?
Worship of themselves. You're worshiping yourself when